It's time for another weekly Covrprice top 10 list. And even though the trailer had not yet dropped, Deadpool and Wolverine are jumping onto this list. Let's break down the books on here and where they've been and where they might be going up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hello, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. And before we get started, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on the other socials, Instagram, whatnot, Bronzeville_comics. Links in the description if you want to sign on to whatnot. There's also links for my eBay store as well as my email. So let's just jump into this top 10 list. A lot of older books on the list. So some interesting things to talk about and some books that we haven't seen for quite a while. But what's driving it? And remember, this list was compiled from sales last week, and the list came out before we even saw the trailer for Deadpool, Wolverine, and Liefeld's Just Feet store. So let's jump into the list. At number 10, an old friend, Spawn, number 1. Now, remember, this is based on volume of sales, and there are a lot of these books out there. There is plenty of supply, but there's also plenty of demand. And this is a book, of course, early image, May 1992. High-grade copies, you probably get about $25. The 9/8s are in the about $150 range. There was a recent sale of a 9.9 for $3,700. Let's take a look at where the book has been. This is in a 9/8, right? So it was bouncing around $100 pre-pandemic, and then it jumped all the way up to about $250 plus, and it's been steadily settling back in. So right now, we got a fair market value of about 150. That is basically stronger than we were pre-pandemic. Basically, in late 2020, it was still less than that. So we're still ahead of 2020 prices on this book. I mean, let's look at the census. 25,000 copies on the census, almost half of them in 9.8s, and there are 69 9.9s and 6.10s. But we've never seen a public sale of a 10, I don't believe. Now, coming in at number 9, X-Men Deadly Genesis number 1. This is the Joe Quesada variant. This is the first appearance of the Third Summer's brother, Gabriel, a.k.a. Vulcan. And, yeah, $10 book, but up to about $150 in a 9.8. Not a lot of history to this. I mean, look, you did have one that jumped up to 350 right when things were booming. And then it dropped all the way down to 66. And we just see a little uptick in the prices recently to put it over $100. So let's take a look at the significance of what's going on here. The most recent episode gives a peek at, spoilers, bye. I'm moving on. I haven't seen this yet. I'm going to go to number 9 on the list. And it's Ms. Marvel number 9, all the way from 1977. This is the first appearance of Deathbird. And it's a $20 to $30 book, but look at 9.8, $305, which makes sense for a book from the 1970s. Those are really hard to get 9/8s. If we look at the 9/8s, right, we did have a jump up to $600 in May of 2022, and it's kind of settled here in the $300 range, which does make sense for even a minor key from 1977. 9.8s are not easy to come by. X-Men 97. Okay, we're going to skip. That's what I figured. Moving on. This is X-Men Adventures number 1, the adaptation of the animated series from 1992. And we see here, it's like a $15 to $20 book. Somebody spent $50 raw fair market value. About $175 in a 9.8. That's down a little where it was recently. During the boom, it jumped up to all the way to 430. And even with that's, I guess, with the announcement of the show, and even with the show being out, I guess it's kind of held steady for the last year and change in the $200 range. We do have like a sale here of $200, but most of the sales are just south of that in a 9.8. I'm not going to look because I don't want any spoilers for this. Any more spoilers, I really have to catch up and watch it, but need time. Let's go to, we're down to number 6 on the list. And that is it 6? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 is this brand new book. And it's Wonder Woman number 8 that came out last week. The Joshua Swaby 1 in 25 variant. An attractive cover. And no graded sales. I actually did pick up these two. It's just, I thought these were very striking. I like this one, but it's not a ratio variant. I really liked this, the Pablo Villalobos book. But you can see $50 to $70. We'll see. It's a brand new 9.8. I think, does it look a little bit like Gal Gadot? This has been the most popular. I think what it is yeah, again, it's the ratio variant. The other were just regular B and C covers. Now, let's jump into our next book, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin number 1. And this is from 2020. And remember, the original TMNT books and the Adventures books kind of jumped early in 2020, perhaps in anticipation of this book that came out later in the year. Well, you can see you're going to have to pay over $100 for a raw book. 9.8's jumping up over $200, 9.9's and a $3,000 for a 10. This is a larger, it's a more magazine size book. It is square bound. So there are 9.9's and 10's. Let's look at the data. And look here, this was a book. I mean, it just came out a couple of years ago. So you're not seeing until very late 2020 the sales of graded books. And it started out $150 and it kind of stayed there forever, right? And then it ticked up a little bit. And then the last couple of weeks with this news, bam, it's jumped all the way almost to $300. Look, the last 4 sales, including an auction for $345, are all over $300. And this all has to do with movie news. Celebrated story. Paramount is set to release a bloody live action depiction. While we're also set to get a AAA title. It's TMNT is back in the upswing with new and old fans looking at the title. It's a modern book for many, and now that it's getting such a spotlight, more optic to make this book part of their PC. And this is an interesting IP, and it's not dissimilar to even, let's say, Batman or Spider-Man, where you do have, especially in adaptations in popular culture, animated movies, etc., you do have more lighthearted fare. That's much more kid-friendly. And then you do have the more adult stories. Now, folks got into TMNT one of two ways, either through the original comics from Mirage in the mid-'80s, which were a parody of Daredevil, but also more adult-oriented. They weren't aimed at kids. And then there was the animated series later in the 80s, including the TMNT Adventures series by Archie, which was definitely aimed at kids. So if you're like a late 80s, 90s kid, you probably got hooked in on the animated series. And like the animated film that came out last year was very much a film I could take my kids to, and they enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll be able to take them to this. Let's move right along and go to, we're up to number 4 on the list, and it's New X-Men, number 114, first appearance of Cassandra Nova. I just took a copy of this out of the press. Fingers crossed. We can see about $20 if you want a raw copy, about $150 for a 9.8. And let's look at where that's been. And now it's trending. It's been kind of all over the place, but was over $100, dropped under, and then like recently it's been up and down. Here's the thing. Cassandra Nova, it very much appears, is going to be, if not the main antagonist, a main antagonist in the film. I think there's a lot going on that we haven't even been, certainly not going to be privy to from the trailers. There's a lot, I'm sure they're keeping as a surprise in terms of how it's dealing with the MCU as a whole and the Fox universe and all that sort of thing. But be that as it may, this is the villain. A year from now, will Cassandra Nova still be a character that people are seeking out? Just going to kind of throw that question out there. And if we go to the write-up, quasi-evil twin of Professor X, rumors have been persistent for months that she will be the main villain, and those rumors may be correct. We got the first full trailer for the upcoming flick, and sure, it looks like Cassandra Nova telepathically shoves Wolverine's claws into the ground. That it appears she may be behind the destruction of Genosha in X-Men 97. Oh boy, no more spoilers. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to keep moving on. Let's go to, I'm going to have to watch the series. Number 3 on the list, an old friend, Dazzler. First appearance of Dazzler in X-Men number 130 from February of 1980. This, of course, during the Byrne Claremont run. It's going to be a popular book regardless, but man, the Taylor Swift rumors have driven this book in a 9.8 up over $1,000. Look, you're going to have to pay hundreds of dollars to get a copy. Even a low-grade copy, I mean, is over $100. Let's take a look at 9/8. And this book in a 9/8 was, again, look, it's always a key. $300, $400 forever. And then all of a sudden, oh, you know, we get a little, I mean, it jumped like before the boom. Look at this. It jumped before the boom. And then it had this enormous spike to $26.50. Went down. But look, I mean, recent sales, what's going on here? You know, it's settled back down again in, you know, a 9/8, more in like, I guess, the $1,300 range. You know, and it is a tough book to get in a 9/8 because, again, it's a book from 1980. So preservation of comics was not as widespread in terms of bags and boards as it would be just a few years later. And there weren't as many folks speculating on things and saving them. And the fan base was just growing. Are we going to see Taylor Swift? Oh, that's what it was. Her new album used the word, the lyrics, promise to be dazzling. The future's bright, dazzling. Oh boy, we're trying to put all the pieces together here. Let's move to number 2 on the list. And this is a book we haven't seen in quite some time. We've seen its limited series counterpart, but this is Wolverine number 1, volume 2, his first ongoing series. And, you know, high grade copies moving up into the $40 range, a 9.8 over 300. There is a 9.9. Let's look at the data here. And again, we're talking about the $300 range. Look at this book. It was, you know, mid hundreds. And then all of a sudden, boom, it jumped up to $750. And it's been on a down slope ever since. And it's kind of, but it's still ahead. I mean, we're looking December 2020, $200. And now we're at $300 approximately, or close to $300. So it does have a bump. They're 18,000. Only 18% are 9/8. It is a book from 1988. It's a black cover, and the back cover is famous for color rub. There is a 10, a single solitary 10 that probably has never sold. 13.99s, and you know, wow. That's kind of one of those things to keep an eye on. Track of that number, you know, pick a couple of your favorite books and see if the 9/9s grow over time. Let's take a look at number 1, and we got a preview of it already. It's Dazzler number 1. The future is dazzling. Is that what the lyrics say? The future is bright, dazzling. I'm sure my daughter knows the lyrics, my 11-year-old, better than I would. Yeah. The patch identity, is that a thing? Fan choice, Daniel Radcliffe. And of course, we hear we didn't really see any of the characters that they could be bringing in from the Fox universe. We didn't really see any other X-Men in the, you know, we didn't see Jennifer Garner's Elektra or Patrick Stewart's Professor X, you know, or any of those other characters that we might see when the movie comes. I hope they keep a lot of surprises until I actually go into the theaters, because that's going to be a blast. Whether Taylor Swift is Dazzler or not, whatever. I think the thought that she might be is helping the movie right now, is helping excitement around the movie. Let's take a look at the numbers 11 through 20 real quick. Spider-Woman number 6 by Ricky Yagawa, 1 in 25. Okay. Uncanny X-Men 212. this, I think this is the first fight between Wolverine and Sabretooth. Or is it? It might be 117. X-Men 97. I'm going to skip that. Secret Wars 8, always popular. I don't think there's any real reason for this. But we'll see. Ultimate Spider-Man's hanging in there. Wolverine 1. Penthouse number 2. I don't know. They did have some popular artists working on this, and New Mutants 98 with Deadpool, New Mutants 87 with Cable, and we're not even going to go into X-Men 97 details just yet. So that's the top 10 books. So there you have it, the top 10 books for this week, and a lot of Deadpool. I think next week we're going to see a real result of the excitement over the trailer reflected in next week's list based on this week's sales. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below about these books. Anything surprise you? Anything you're looking for that maybe now you want to hold off on? I don't know. You can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.